My name is Juliana Laury. I am a photographer. I live and work right out of the Philadelphia area in Pennsylvania. I live in Pottstown. I do a little bit of travel just around the suburbs of Philadelphia, but I typically work with clients who are local to me. I do that for a very specific reason. I would love to foster all of my relationships with my couples throughout their lifetime. So I've become known over the last 4 years for my wedding work primarily, but I'm at a point where I'm starting to branch a little bit more into lifestyle work based off of those same couples. So births, lifestyle images, documentation of really any kind of their everyday life. So one thing that has been a really big aspect of my mantra, my business, my life has been the importance of albums. When I got married, I knew that I wanted a wedding album. I spent my whole childhood growing up looking through my grandparents' wedding albums, my parents' wedding albums, and of course back in those days it was maybe 10 pictures because each one is a physical print and it's, hand matted and hand mounted into these beautiful heirloom pieces. And so I went into my own wedding knowing that that was going to be important to me. That being said, I got married a little on the younger side, so we didn't have a whole lot of money. And I think that this is something that's a very common story where people know they want a wedding album, they grew up looking at them, but the cost of a wedding can get really out of hand sometimes really quickly. And so I've come up with a solution that I really want to share that I think will help not only the photographers but also the couples that are getting these wedding albums. It's a process that I spent quite a bit of time investing my own money and my own research, doing mentoring sessions, watching creative lives, and then also doing a good amount of classes. And I've built a system that has really worked for me pretty much across the board for the last 2.5 years. So something that I think photographers really get hung up on is not wanting to be salesy. And I'm not a salesperson at all. I'm just a person who doesn't love the businesswoman approach. And I think that this is something that a lot of photographers kind of shy away from is sales for that reason. And I don't see it as that at all. In fact, I'm only talking about albums because I really don't sell much of anything else other than, of course, my time and the digital files. But I keep it simple for me. And I keep it transparent. I keep it based on emotion, based on real life, and based on my own experience. So what I would love to do is to elevate our industry. And I think every couple deserves a wedding album. And it's really, really sad to me when they don't feel that they can afford it. And in some ways, I feel that the way the world is going anymore, everything is more expensive and sort of priorities get lost, and that old heirloom album that you used to look through, you just forget about it and it becomes sort of a second-rate memory of the past. And I think that if I can share my process, that we as photographers can give that back to the new generation that's coming in and allow our children and our grandchildren and all of the next generations to come to really have something to hold on to rather than just digital files or USB. I think everybody's kind of understanding that media is always changing, and last year it was a CD, the year before that it was a floppy disk, now it's a USB drive, and who knows what it'll be in 50 years. So the importance of an album is something that needs to be stressed, and not in a pressure type of a way. It just needs to be communicated well. So what I'm going to do is go through my system of how I sell albums. And again, I don't love using the word sales, but it's just my approach. It's something that I have found works for me and for my couples, and I really hope works for you too. So just going back, it is a mantra that needs to be a part of just everything that you do. You need to believe in the power of these albums. You need to believe in your work. You need to believe that this is how it deserves to be viewed, because you spend so much time on these images, you spend so much time on these couples, building your relationship with them, of course, photographing the day, editing everything. You're half-assing the job if you don't have an album to show for it at the end. And quite honestly, I think we're doing a disservice to ourselves as artists if we don't make sure that our work is printed. If you don't believe that, then this video just isn't for you, and you probably won't be as interested in what I have to say. But if you do feel that this resonates with you, and you really do feel that your work deserves to be printed and deserves to be seen and touched, then you will understand why I care so much about this. So the way that I approach talking to my couples about albums starts from the very beginning, starts from the first phone call. I think everybody gets hung up on what's your package, what's your sales rate, the numbers, the statistics. Everybody does things differently, and I certainly have a system that's worked for me, but I do understand that everybody has their own package system. I think that the way that you approach albums is about how you talk to people. It's not about what's on a piece of paper. So while I do have a fairly simple pricing structure for both, again, for myself and for the couple, I can see that this working for other photographers that have different types of packages. I will tell you what mine is, just so that you have a reference point, but what I do is only 2 packages. I only have the basic package and the complete package. The basic package does not have a wedding album included. It is just the coverage for the wedding day. I do have a second shooter, so it's for both of us to be there, and it also includes the digital files as well. That's it. That's all the basic package is. What the basic package says to me is that this couple really wants me to be there for their wedding. Maybe they can't afford the next level up, or maybe they're in a situation where they want to upgrade to the complete package later. That's totally fine. This is not a negative thing at all. It just means that I'll be there for the wedding, and I tell them when they book the basic package that we will go over all the album, options after the wedding. The second package is the complete package. Same thing with the wedding day coverage for Allison and I, my second shooter and I, and the files, but it also includes an engagement session, and it includes a small wedding album, and I'll go over the different sizes, but it's basically the smallest one that you can order. So that's it. It's really simple. I'm not asking for a whole lot of commitment in the album realm when my couples are booking me. I would be honest and say that it's probably 50-50. 50% of my couples are booking me at my basic, and 50% are booking me at the complete. What I stress on the phone call is that the album will be important, but I understand that you are now paying thousands of dollars right now as you book everything. You're booking your florist, your venue, your caterer, anything else, me. You might be doing all kinds of other deposits all at once. I understand that it's a big financial commitment when your photos haven't even been taken yet. So when I have a couple that books me at the basic package, again, it's not a negative. It's not they're not going to get an album. It just means that they're going to get one later. And I tell them the process. I say that I'm so excited to be there, to be able to document their day. And I tell them about what's to come. I host preview sessions out of my home, and when they see their photos for the first time, it's not just a little thumbnail on a computer screen. It's actually a slideshow that I put together for them, and they get to enjoy that together as a couple for the first time. I tell them that, so they know how they're going to see their photos, and they know that they're going to have a really great experience, and they know that at the end of that slideshow, we're going to have albums in front of them, and we're going to talk about them. I also say I understand that you may want a wedding album right now, but you can't buy the complete package. I suggest something. This is the first tip that if you can implement just this, I think it can make a big difference. The tip is this: encourage them to save a little bit of their wedding gift money for their wedding album. I give the example of my own wedding. We didn't have a whole lot of money, and I was so privileged to have such giving parents who were able to help with a large portion of the big costs, like the vendor, like meals and the catering and the dress and all that. But when it came to things like the wedding album, they couldn't just shell out money for everything. So things like the photography, the gifts, all those other little things, they were on us. And we knew that we didn't just have extra money lying around. So what we actually decided to do was we got all these checks from our wonderful family and friends, and we sat down, and before we really deposited the money in the bank, before we even got our wedding photos, we just talked about a reasonable number that we would both be comfortable with putting aside. You need to plant this seed early because you're setting the expectation in their head that they're going to do this. You're not going to be there in the room with them when they're counting all their checks, which is an awesome time for a couple. And I was personally a little bit surprised because I'd never been married before, and I didn't know how much you would make from these checks. And I thought, wow, we can afford this wonderful wedding album. We can afford to put photos in our home. This is money that our friends and family are gifting us. And I put it in the thank you card when I sent that out. I said, thank you so much, to the guests when we did the thank you card. And I said, without your wedding gift money, we wouldn't have been able to afford our beautiful canvases in our home and also our wedding album. So thank you so much. And I felt that a lot of my guests were very surprised that first off, I told them what I did with the money, and second off, that they were able to contribute that way. Money doesn't grow on trees, but with a wedding, I think as a photographer, you can really utilize that little tip to your advantage because it does come from the kindness of the guests, and you can really bring that into another place and have that be a way that your couples can afford this album. So I plant that seed really early, usually during the first phone call or the first meeting. Depends on how long my phone calls are. Usually I'll do a phone call just to talk with them and then actually follow up and we meet in person. I don't know what everybody else is doing out there for their systems. You should absolutely be talking to your couples, making sure that they're the right fit for you. But the wedding gift money idea is a seed that I plant always before the contract is signed. So either during that phone call or that initial meeting. Then they book, let's just say that they book the basic package. I'm actually going to go through this as if they were booking the basic package with no album. So the seed is planted. They think, great, we know we're going to see our photos for about, we turn ours around at 30 days after the wedding. And I'll go into that a little bit, but they understand that when they see their photos, it's going to be a really exciting and emotional experience because they're going to be together and we're going to put together this really awesome slideshow. And then we're going to go over the albums at that point in time. So we're just going to fast forward a little bit. We go through the wedding day, if you do an engagement session, all of that good stuff. I'm not pulling out samples a whole lot. I will pull out a sample again if they do have a meeting with me ahead of time before the wedding happens, but I don't pressure them to pick what they need right then because the photos haven't been taken yet. They don't know what their favorite photos are. I haven't taken anything of them yet. So I don't really pressure them too much pre-wedding. So I will fast forward to when the wedding is over. So Allison and I work together as a team and we work on our images pretty quickly. This is twofold. One, we turn our photos around pretty quickly because we want them to get their photos right away. They are most excited about seeing their wedding pictures within the first month, of course. So hypothetically, they're going away on their honeymoon, maybe the day after their wedding, or a couple of days after. People are posting their cell phone photos, wishing them their congratulations on Facebook or social media, and that's really when they're so excited. We personally do one photo that's a sneak peek the week of the wedding. Again, this is just something that we do. I'm just telling you our system, and it works. It just gets people excited to see their photos, and it does sort of combat that whole making their profile photo a cell phone picture, which is not always the best representation of their day. In the email, though, when we do the sneak peek, I send them an email. I just say, thank you so much for having us for your wedding. We had such a wonderful time. It was just so exciting for us to be there for you, and we are working on your images right now. And as the contract states, they're going to be ready within 30 days. And at that point, when they're ready, we're going to email you and you're going to come in for a preview session. So again, laying the groundwork. It's been a couple of days after their wedding. Unfortunately, they probably are checking their email to see if you've sent them anything, even though they may also be on their honeymoon, but they're just so excited to hear from you. So it's just another reiteration of what to expect. I would say that Allison and I try, the second reason why we try to turn them around really quickly is because we work as a team. So she'll help with the culling and a good portion of the editing, and then she'll pass the selects off to me. And then I will go through, make a lot of blog selects. I'll do some extra editing to especially the ones that I really love and the ones that I want to highlight, especially the slideshow images. Those ones I really want to make special. So I might spend a little bit extra time on those. At that point, we are probably in the range of 2.5 to 3 weeks, in that range, when I'm getting them back and I'm doing all my work on them out from the wedding itself. So we will, at that point, email the couple. So we're looking at 3.5 weeks from their wedding date that we're emailing them and saying, guys, we are so excited. Your wedding photos are ready. Let's schedule your preview session. They already know that they're coming in for the preview session. They've known for this whole time. So now they're just excited. We turn them around really quickly because then also I'm excited. I just finished working on these. If I let these images sit in my queue for months and months and months, I might be like, who are these people again? Like Joe and who? And, it's just, it kind of becomes an issue of your enthusiasm isn't there either. So because this is so fresh and so new, and I just had their wedding less than a month ago, I'm really excited to get these photos out to them. And if you love your job, I would hope that you're also as excited to see their reactions, to watch their reactions to the images that you spent so much time on. And because I do my preview session usually within a week, maximum 2 weeks of finishing these images, I have been staring at their faces for the last 3.5 weeks. So I want to watch their reaction. So I think the enthusiasm is there for them and for me. So again, this is just how it works for me and for us. And I think outsourcing editing can be a really big help. And I know I wouldn't be able to do it without Allison's help of the culling and the editing for me. And then also our teamwork of just being able to communicate the deadlines pretty well to one another. So we're at 4 weeks. It's been a month. And in theory, they're coming in to my home. So I live and work out of the same place. I think the studio mentality is not as popular as it used to be. And I live in a suburb, and I think the people who live in suburbs are a little less inclined to go pay hundreds of dollars a month to have a studio and to be able to afford to do all of that. Now, again, this is my situation, and everybody's a little bit different. If you have a studio, great. This is even better because you're going to really have a completely branded experience in your studio. Whereas my home, there are photos of just us around my house. So it's not client work that's up. It's really more just my life. So I think that that's a good thing. I think that it works to my benefit because it does make the experience very comfortable and very homey, and that's what I want it to be. But I sometimes kind of wish I didn't have a kitchen over there, or I didn't have to ask my husband to wait upstairs or things like that. So that is a little bit of a challenge working out of my home, that if I had a studio, I probably wouldn't have some of those little challenges. Vacuuming, making sure the house looks pretty nice. So that's kind of a big part of it. But regardless, I invite them over. I let them know it's my home studio. That's how I call it, which is true. My office is upstairs, and the preview sessions are downstairs in the living room. I make cookies. This is really easy, guys. You should put a snack out, but make it an easy snack. I used to try to do fancy things like cheese plates, which I love making, and these like really nice antipasti dishes, but they were so fancy that no one would take them. No one would touch them because they were too nice. And so I find that just, honestly, people just like chocolate chip cookies and water or milk. I used to try to offer alcohol and all that stuff. Maybe that works for your client. For me, it just seems more homey if I just kind of keep it simple. And it's very easy to make chocolate chip cookies. Doesn't take more than a few minutes. So it's a really nice way. Again, it's just kind of a nice homey thing that I put out on the table for them. So they are so excited. Usually they've come back from their honeymoon maybe a week or two before, and I very rarely make a whole lot of small talk because they're literally staring at the screen waiting to see their wedding photos. So I just ask if their honeymoon was good, and then I tell them that I'm so excited for the slideshow. I don't try to make them wait too much. So they sit down and they see this awesome slideshow. I would say that I deliver somewhere in the range of like 800 to 900 photos. We're doing really long days. My coverage is usually in the range of 10 to 12 hours on a wedding day. So if you have a shorter wedding day, your numbers are going to be smaller than that. But because we do longer days, that's pretty accurate for us. The slideshow is going to be somewhere in the range for us out of there of about 250 to 300. So if you do that math, we're looking at about 25 to 30% of the photos. This is something that I put together in Lightroom. So I'm just really quickly going to talk about how I put that slideshow together. I do all my editing in Lightroom, and we also do all of the slideshow work in there as well. There's a little tab at the top next to the develop module. It's just slideshow. It makes it really easy because when I just go through and I have my edits, I use a 1-star for keeping the image and delivering it to the client. I use a 2-star for the slideshow, and I use a 3-star for the blog post. So those are really just like the best of the best of the best. The only other labels I use are blue. At the end of the year, I do a bloopers blog post, and it's really fun. It's some behind the scenes photos and some of the photos that are maybe a little bit embarrassing, but I blue label those. So those are the only labels that I use. So all I have to do is, once I have my full set, I just hit at the top 2-star. So anything with a 2-star in it, I just drop it into a collection. On the left of Lightroom is going to be a little collection for you, and it just call it slideshow. So what I do is it's simple. It's just a black backdrop with it's a 1-point white border. And I'm giving away a little bit of a secret here, but I use the same songs basically every time. I know it's sounds a little embarrassing, but if this is going to be simple and easy for you, running down the rabbit hole of music is not going to be efficient at all. Finding out what their first dance song is a good idea, and I would encourage, if you can do it, to do it. But you will lose hours looking for music and paying for songs. And sometimes the songs don't always work together that you pick. And so every time I've put together a compilation of songs, it's taken me a longer amount of time. So I really just keep it pretty simple. I actually have used GarageBand on my iMac now to put together some songs, and then I just sync them so that they bleed into one another. You don't have to do it that way. In Lightroom, you can just drop a song in. It's just song, 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 because it'll just go in order. However, there is a small little bit of a gap in between the two songs. So if you're okay with that, it's really not the worst. But if you'd rather have the songs bleed together, just drop them into GarageBand and then export it as an MP3 and share it to iTunes, and then you have the song. So anyway, I just have a little folder on my desktop just called music, and it has the handful of slideshow sets that I have, and I call them things, maybe what the songs are and things like that. So once you find a really good system of good songs that you like, you only need 3. I use about 3 songs, so it's going to be about 250 photos, and it's something in the range, for me, it's somewhere in the range of 9 to 13 minutes. Again, this depends on the wedding, but it's in that range. So that's how I do the slideshows. So back to the preview session, they were watching that slideshow and I'm sitting with them. Some people think this is weird. I think it's a bonding experience because I'm sitting next to them, they're reaching for the cookies, and then they're reaching for a tissue, and they're literally looking at me like, oh my gosh, I love this one. Or they might say to me, remember when that happened? Or some crazy thing. As with all weddings, there's something that goes wrong, and they kind of touch my knee and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you got that. It has informed my work as a photographer in more ways than any classes or mentoring sessions or really any education ever could do, because it's shown me what my couples love. It's shown me the images that really make them react, and it shows me what images they care about. And so when I go off to the next wedding, I'm able to really remember, oh, hey, they didn't cry at the photo of the shoes, but they did cry when they saw that photo of their grandfather seeing them for the first time and the way his eyes lit up, you know? And I've had other situations, unfortunately, where I didn't know things have happened in between the wedding and the preview session. I had a situation where a couple lost their grandfather and they didn't tell anybody. And so the photo that came up, they had a son and the grandfather was holding their son and the groom just lost it. I mean, he was just crying. And she turned to me and she said, he passed away last week. And I didn't know any of that. So these images, they're going to mean more to you too. They mean a lot to this couple, but it's important that you realize what you're making and what images are really going to be the important images. The other thing is you have to remember what images they want in their album. You're not designing an album for you. This isn't something for you to have out in your studio. You can do that anytime. This is for them. So when you see what images that they react to, you're better able to make an album that's meaningful and filled with images that you know they love because you've watched their reactions to it. So I know I'm getting a little preachy, but it's important. So when that slideshow is over, usually I get so nervous about this part. I'm just watching their reactions the whole time. So when the slideshow's over, I feel like I can finally breathe again. But they usually hug you and I say, I'm, so glad. And I usually surprise them and I say, surprise, I put that slideshow on your USB so you can have it. And they usually love, love, love it. I don't post it on my website. I don't post it on YouTube. I just give it to them in the USB. And a lot of times they feel like that's a huge gift. Another thing that I've found is when couples sort of regret not getting videography for their wedding and they say, oh, like you kind of gave us something that we can watch that we didn't invest in, and you gave us this awesome gift. So it's really cool. And then a lot of times they say, I can't wait to show everybody. So I say, this is a wonderful way for your parents to see them for the first time, for your family members to see them for the first time, because your family members, I tell them, realistically all your friends and family aren't gonna always want to go through all 900 of your pictures, but they can sit down for 10 minutes and watch this slideshow and relive this moment with you. So that is something that is real gift for them and for me. Another thing I would suggest is I do these little USB boxes, and something that this is empty, of course, but if you have time, I use White House Custom Color, so they turn the prints around really, really quickly within 2 or 3 days. I do these boxes, so it's like a little slide box here. So imagine there's a USB right here. Of course there isn't. But I just do about 100 4x6 prints. If you can do that, great. If not, you don't need to. It's just an extra gift, but it really makes them feel like they're walking home with this awesome gift. But remember, you already 2 or 3 starred 200 pictures. All you have to do is pick 50 or 100 out of those. I mean, they're already like labeled. You've done the work. All you do is just send them to the lab. And costs me $20 at most. It is such an amazing gift for them. They go home like hugging this. I'm not lying. Like I've seen women like, I'm not letting this go. It's incredible. But yeah, that's the power of print. And it does really set in their mind that these printed images, that their images in their hand, walking home with something, it means so much. It means a lot to me. I wouldn't do this if I didn't believe in it. So if you can do it this way, I suggest it. Little side note is you can get these like custom box things made anywhere. You can put them in a box. You could just tie up the photos with string, but yeah. So just kind of keeping that in mind. The next thing that I do for them is I say, we're gonna watch one more slideshow. This is really, really important. this is probably the most important part of selling albums. What I do is I say, I've actually gone ahead and designed a wedding album for you using some of those photos that you saw in the slideshow. So it's just going to be 2 or 3 minutes. I'm just going to have you sit back and just kind of watch this. And it's a book as if it was opened. So just keep that in mind. You're just reading the book left to right. And it's some of these wedding photos in an album for you. I play the slideshow. Again, it's set to music, so the emotion is there. The lights are down. They've just watched their photos for the first time. Like, they're so excited. Again, this is somebody that probably hasn't purchased an album from me. I'm just assuming that this couple hasn't purchased an album from me. What I do when I export all of their files, so let's just say it's 900. I export all their files. When I'm done doing that, I open up a program that is called Smart Albums. There are other companies out there that do the same thing. Fundy Album Builder is awesome. And Andrew Funderburg is an incredible man who just talks about the power of print. So he is a huge advocate for this. And with Smart Albums, which is the company that I use, it's the program that I use, they actually have the proofing built into it. So that's why I really like Smart Albums a lot. So I drop all 900 I make a new album. And what I do is the same size for everybody, which I'm going to show you what that is, but it's a 10 by 13. So I just open it up, whatever company you use. There's a drop down bar of all album companies that are available right now. It's incredible. You just pick the company, you pick the size, and then all of your photos are in there. It takes me, realistically, if I'm being super honest, Smart Albums will be like, you can design an album in 10 minutes. That's true if you only had their selects. What I actually do is I drop all of their photos into it so that proofing later is a little bit easier. So realistically, it takes me about 30 minutes to do this. Totally worth the 30 minutes. But it does take me about 30 minutes because I'm going through all their photos. Again, I've just edited all of them, so they're kind of all in my brain already. I go through, I do 1 or 2 spreads for prep. I do, if they're doing a first look, I do a spread or 2 for that. We do some portraits, family formals. Make sure you include a spread for family formals. If you don't include it, they will need them. Like that is so important. If I didn't stress that, I know that photographers are so quick to just put their portraits in portrait. But again, these family formals are really important that you put in their album. So keep in mind, what are they going to want in 50 years? What are their grandkids going to be looking at? So remember that when you're designing it. So when you're designing your album in Smart Albums or whatever program you're using, Fundy, even if you do it in InDesign and you do it by hand, which I would not suggest doing, there are so many programs out there that make this easier, I would suggest going off of the full set. The reason why is because we are going to give our couples an opportunity to make adjustments. I will go over this, but you need to understand that the spreads that you're showing them are the ones that you think are the best. You are doing 90% of the work, but there's still that little 10% that they do need to give a little bit of their feedback into. Just a little bit. But essentially what you're saying to this couple is, instead of sending them off with 900 pictures and telling them to pick, which is so overwhelming, you are saying, I've already done most of the work for you. I met your family, I met your friends, I know all of the photos that will mean really the most to you. And I custom made this for you to make it easier for you. You have no idea how much my couples really appreciate this, because I come from a place of understanding. Life happens. Think about your October couples. When are they getting their wedding photos? During Christmas. They are overwhelmed. They're shopping. They're paying more money than they really have on gifts. Their car might have broken down. It started snowing. Life goes back to the way it was before their wedding happened. But now they have all these other things. They have to write thank you cards, and they have to figure out what they're going to do with the extra centerpieces that are in the basement. Be understanding and come from a place of empathy. So this is why I do the design this way. They see the slideshow, I've already put it together for them, and they fall in love with the album because it's their photos. I'm not pitching them a sample in front of them of somebody else's life, because that wasn't their day. I'm pitching them their own wedding. So the biggest part of this is, I think, is being able to do this in person, because I'm able to answer people's questions one-on-one. I'm really able to talk about their concerns and be right there. So the slideshow ends. Again, it was only 3 minutes. Hypothetically, they haven't paid $1 towards their wedding album. And I sit down and I say to them, the preview session is so important to me. And the reason why you're here is, first off, because I wanted you to see your wedding photos this way. I wanted you to see them really nice and big for the first time. The second thing is, I want to help you. I want to help you navigate what you're going to do with these wedding photos, and I want to make it easy for you. So let me help you. So the lights are on, and usually this is when I pull out my price sheet. I'm going to show you my price sheet, and I'm actually going to show you what my designer just made for me. It's so easy. It's printed on a piece of 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I print it 5 minutes before the couple walks in the door. It's not laminated. It's nothing special, but it is really huge. So again, 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Couple's name is at the top. If they got the complete package, the one with the album in it, I just tell them it's a credit. So the album that they bought was 10 spreads. I just equate that to $1,000 because that's what it's worth in my my company's pricing. So it says at the top, it says you have $1,000 to put towards your album or a la carte purchases. And then I say, when you buy today, you get a 15% off discount. If in this situation here, this next one, this couple got the basic package. All I did, I took out the top sentence. It just says at the top, when you buy today, you get a 15% off discount. That's all. That's the only thing I changed. So you either change that top line and obviously you put their names in, or you don't. The 15% off discount is a pretty well-known sales tactic, but it works because you need an incentive. You really need them to decide now, tonight, what they're going to get. And I think a discount is it's not going to discount your work. It's going to be that little extra thing that they say, you know what, if we don't do this today, we're going to be spending 15% more. And how many times have you gone into any store, and if there's a discount, you're a little bit more inclined to buy it? This was definitely a Zach and Jody tip. I did a mentor session with them right when I was starting to build this program about almost 3 years ago now. And that's a really big part of it. So I'm going to show you what my albums are. I'm going to actually walk you through the exact process that I do with my couples now. So what happens at this part, my little spiel that I give them. So the top column says albums. I do one size. By one size, I don't mean spread-wise. I mean size-wise. It is only one. You have to keep it simple. I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but KISS, keep it simple, stupid. It's true. 10 by 13 is the size. All of my album samples here are 10 by 13. Yeah, it's totally the size I did for my wedding album, so I loved it, and I stuck with it. So this is a 10 by 13. This is what they see. 10 by 13, I think, is going to be really nice in between. It's definitely going to feel hefty, but it's not going to feel like you have to put your arms out here to hold it. So for me, it's a good size. I do the horizontal. Some people do vertical. It's totally up to how you shoot, I think. And I think that you just want to kind of keep it a really simple, one simple size. Because if you give them, you're already telling them they have to pick to spend a lot of money with you. So you want to keep this as easy as you can. If you just say it's one size, I have never had any couple say, oh, well, can you do an 11 by 14? Can you do a 16 by 20? I mean, if they do, yeah, you can, because the company can do it. But you need to give them less options. It's going to be so much easier for them in the long run. So what I have is this 10 by 13. Now I use Renaissance. They're out of New York. I absolutely love working with this company because they have and I think a lot of album companies are doing this now, but they do have a lifetime warranty. So God forbid something happened to the album, lightning strikes on the album, they'll make a new one for you. That's really wonderful because I think one little issue that society does kind of have in their head is that they can make it on their own. When my couples hold these albums, they can tell this isn't something that they can just buy on Snapfish. So don't give them a product that doesn't match your price. Anyway, so I will design across the full bleed this way. I talk them through how I do the design. Usually I'll do all black and white and all color to keep it kind of consistent, but I'm talking them through that as they're flipping through. So they're flipping through these albums that are in their hands, not in my hands, and I'm talking about how I really can just kind of touch this. I mean, this is my normal sample, so people will touch these and there's no fingerprints, and you talk about the quality of it, but they're actually holding it, so you don't really need to explain that a whole lot. They can see that for themselves. So they're flipping through and they're thinking about the slideshow that they just watched. They're thinking about, oh, she just did that with our photos. So they're gonna be able to put themselves in this album, and that's what they should be doing. And they shouldn't be spending a whole ton of time looking at your samples as far as images go, because they should be so excited to just have their images in there. So what I would say is, again, we need to keep it easy for them, is I tell them the next thing that they're deciding isn't so much the size here, they're deciding the depth. They're gonna be deciding how many spreads. So a spread is exactly what I showed you here. It's 2 pages. The way I designed their album, it's a spread, it's 2 pages. So that is something you have to educate them on. So I sell it by spreads. Like I said, the complete album the complete package I do is 10 spreads. So they're seeing what that looks like. I will walk you through this next part here. So there is a blank line and then it says spreads. I'm telling them they can write how many spreads they want in there. I also tell them, based off of the design that I just made for them, I do an average of about 4 images a spread. You can change that to what you need. If you only want to do like 1, 1, 1, 1, like for photos, and you don't want to max it out too much, that's totally fine. But I do about 4 images. I personally do about 4 images a spread. So if they do a 25 spread album, that's about 100 pictures, right? You do need to give them that context to work off of. And you can pick what number you're comfortable with, but that's something that's really worked for me, because for portraits, I might do 1 photo here, 1 photo here, but for the reception, I might do like 8 across the spread. So I'm working off of that ratio when I'm designing their album. The line here is crossed out. So it's normally $100 a spread, but visually for them, it's crossed out to $85 a spread, because remember, they're getting a 15% off discount. So now they're seeing the 85 number, and that's the number that they're gonna be registering in their brain. So if they come back to you and they say, hey, can I do this album in 2 years? Well, yeah, but it's gonna be full price, and it might be a little bit more if it's 2 years and there's inflation. But remember, like, now they're like, well, that's not the $85 a spread. That's the part that they're going to be remembering. So $85 a spread. There's a line that they can fill out, but it's overwhelming. They think, okay, you just told me you're giving us 900 pictures, and if we get a 25 spread album, that's about 100. That's a pretty small amount of images. This is something that you need to talk to them about, but just give them guidance. So I do suggested sizes right here at the bottom. A small is 15 spreads, a medium is 25 spreads, and a large is 35 spreads. I also do offer a double where it's 2 albums. So they do 25 and 25, and that's 50 total. I've never done more than that. I really wouldn't suggest doing more than that. That's quite a bit as far as weight goes. But my company, Renaissance, Usually we try to stay around 35. They can do a little bit more than I think, depends on what company you use, but once you get above 35, the book itself is actually, the binding is going to start to struggle a little bit because these are really high quality images, so the pages are going to be heavy. So once you go over 35 spreads, you're looking at a little bit of compromising on the quality of the binding. So that's why companies are trying to max out at maybe 35 or max 40. So that's the reasoning behind that. I actually suggest to people, I just say, you know what, most people do the 25 spread. It's an easy number. People really don't want to think. Their brain is already so overwhelmed. If you just say a 25 spread album and you're going to get 100 pictures, that's a number people can process. And I think it's something that makes sense. 100 pictures? Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely want 100 pictures. Less than that sounds like not enough, which is kind of true if you think about how many photos that you're going to be delivering. I have totally had people do a small and they say, can we add later? You can always add spreads. I don't really have people subtract, but they can always add if they want to. The complete package has 10 spreads in it. I have only had one couple ever stick with the 10 spreads. Usually when people buy the complete package, they're just adding spreads on to what their credit is. So that's how that works. Just as a note, I do offer a parent album. So that is the only other size I do. It's an 8x10 album, and I tell my couples it's a duplicate copy of the same layout. It shouldn't be extra work for you. It should just be the click of a button. I do an 8x10 for them, and I use this in this situation. This is called the Essex with Renaissance. If you do end up going with them, this is called the Essex book. The pages are going to be a little bit thinner, and the size is going to be a little bit smaller. So as you can see, it's just a smaller, it's just kind of a smaller version. And I just do one straight price for that. So just to go off of this line item here, parent album is normally $800, and I cross it out to be $680. And what I tell them is it's just a duplicate. So if you get 25 spreads, that's what it is. If it's 35 spreads, that's what it is. It's just a flat rate. It's not a per spread rate. Again, it should just be something that they say, hey, do we want mom and dad to have one of these? Yeah, check it off. And then that's it. That's the end of that discussion. I would also say that keeping your album covers simple is going to benefit you, because if you give them too many options, I find that they're going to get really hung up on that too. If you say, oh, you could do a photo, or you could do metal, or you could do this, or you could do that, it's too many decisions for them to make. They're already deciding if they're going to do this anyway. So what I do have my couples do is they do pick the album cover material. But what we've been doing is just doing their name and the date at the top. As a reference, again, Allison designs these for me, so each couple gets their own custom stamp. It's just a cost that I incur. I don't charge them extra for that. It's just something that I think is important, and I think it's beautiful and timeless. And I do think that if you just put their name and the date on the front, it's not gonna look cheesy in 50 years. So that's kind of the route that we've gone, and it's worked really, really well. So what I wanted to talk about is the two next key parts. And these are both really important. I do two things. One is I offer them a payment schedule. My 35 spread album, I'm reading this here, my 35 spread album with the 15% off discount is $2,975. That's almost $3,000 that I'm asking my couples to spend after they've already spent thousands and thousands of dollars with me, and after they've already spent thousands of dollars on their wedding. Again, I'm coming from a place of empathy. I offer them a payment schedule. I highly, highly, highly recommend this. Couples don't always have $3,000 just sitting in the bank. Now, hopefully they have put some of their wedding money away, but that's not always the case. Maybe they just bought a house and they dropped all their wedding gift money on the down payment. I offer them a payment schedule. I tell them, I don't expect you to just shell out all of this money right away. You tell me what album you want, and we will make it work. I understand the fridge needs to be replaced. I understand that you are still incurring bills for your wedding. I understand that your life has moved on, and this is another expense. So I believe in you having this album, and I'm going to do what I need to make it happen. Let's say, in theory, that they get this 35 spread album. They didn't purchase an album with you before. They got the basic package. And that's a $3,000 bill. Do you guys think you could do $300 a month for 10 months? You need to talk to them and be honest, because I think what a lot of photographers are afraid of doing is talking about money. Their life is going to be very different from your next couple's life, and you need to understand that. Putting them on a payment schedule is going to alleviate the stress, but it's going to give them their wedding album. I would have them sign a contract. It is included actually in my wedding contract that if they don't approve the album in X amount of time, that I can send it out as is if they've paid their invoices. So that is a trust thing that I do that I understand is not natural for everybody. If you would like to have them sign a contract, totally do it with the verbiage that you feel needs to protect you. But to be quite honest, these people have been a part of your business and a part of your life for a year. And if you really built your relationship with them the right way, they're not going to stiff you. I use a office management software. It's called Tavi. I'm not totally sure how to say it. People use Shootproof. They use all kinds of studio management softwares. I do that. So essentially I'm putting their bill in, and it's just an automatic email that they're going to get monthly. So I'm not going in every month and saying, oh, so-and-so is due for a bill today. What I'm doing is I'm plugging it into the system, and it's just reminding them. I mean, it's 2017. Sign up for PayPal, like anything, get those. You can get the payments, you can break them off into equal payments monthly, and it's so easy to have a program that just does the work for you. This is not hard. It's not hard for you, and it's not hard for them. Every month, I'm getting emails from my bank, deposit. So my off season, I'm in January right now, I'm getting payments from couples from September, from the summer. I'm getting all of my couples who are paying me throughout the year. So it's also going to help your cash flow to even out. So this is a really important piece of the puzzle that you need to tell them about, and you really need to be okay with breaching this topic. It's hard to talk about money. I get it. But again, if you come from a place of empathy and you come from a human experience, then they'll understand. Of course, you do need to have them start making that first payment either that night or the very next day. Like, you can't let time go by before you actually take that first deposit. I'm a trusting person, and I think you'll see that people are more appreciative that you're willing to do this and work with them and do something that's a car payment rather than a $3,000 bill all at one time. The second thing I do is, at this point, I've given them this whole spiel. They've seen all of the samples. They're all out. And what I do is I say, I'm actually going to go upstairs. Again, this is something that Zach and Jody taught me. And they are based out of Nashville, so you should totally look them up. When I don't do this, the process tends to fail. So I ask them to pick their album cover. And I say, I'm going to go upstairs and I'm actually going to just shoot off some emails. I'm going to give you guys some time to just sit here and just chat. Give them the time and the privacy to make this decision without you pressuring them. Again, every couple is different. Some people are going to be wanting parent albums. Some people are going to be wanting a big album. Some people are just not sure. Some people don't know what their payment schedule could be. Give them the privacy to make that decision without you there. So when you don't do this, it is the hardest part. I'm telling you, this is the hardest part. It's so awkward because you think, okay, I'm just going to leave now. 5 minutes makes all the difference. I usually just go, I do shoot off a couple emails. I'll usually set a timer like on my phone because I don't want time to just sort of go away. I want to be consistent. Usually do about 5 minutes. And I give them this box and I say, I'm going to have you pick your album cover material. This is another really important piece of it because now they are invested. They saw their slideshow of their album. They've seen the samples. They've put themselves in it. And now they're picking their cover material. I do give them a little bit of guidance. I show them the difference between leather and fabric. So the one that I was just holding up for you is a very popular cover material because people see it and they say, we love it, it's great. Just do that one. It's a neutral color. This is silk and it's called taupe from Renaissance. People tend to really like this one. If they want leather, they're always going to go, in my opinion, they tend to just go for black or brown, which is great. Renaissance has a couple of different options and I'm able to show them what that looks like. So this is what a brown leather album looks like. They're able to touch it. They're able to feel it. They're able to see that the spine is a little bit different. So when they're able to really touch it, they're kind of able to see that the leather lays differently on the spine and also throughout the folds of the album. So this is what a brown leather looks like. And then our wedding album is actually a black leather. So they're able to see what that one is as well. So those are in front of them. They're able to touch them and feel them. And they get this box that has all of the different samples. So they're able to pick. I don't upcharge them. I think this is, again, something that, same as the embossing on the front. If it costs you $50 extra because they got a brown leather over getting a silk, who cares? In the grand scheme of things, they're spending $3,000 with you. What's $50? Be grateful that they're doing this and give them little things along the way and don't make this difficult. I think the issue that I find in our industry is that everybody's trying to nickel and dime their couples, and the couples feel that way. They feel like you're nickel and diming them and that you're charging them for every little thing. And whether you get a brown leather or whether you get a taupe silk, like, just let them pick what they want. Don't make it complicated. Okay, so they have this in front of them. They have a pen. It's a piece of paper. They can just write all over it. What I do is I just go to Staples and I just get the slightly heavier stock. It's not anything, it's a little bit thicker than like the regular computer paper, but that way it just has a little bit of heft to it. But they have a pen and they just write on it. So in this situation, they circled this one and then they wrote down what they wanted. They want the slate linen cover. Some people write a little bit more all over them, but that's why it's there. That's why the pen is there. That's why the time is there. They have cookies in front of them and there's a bathroom nearby, and I ask them if they want refills on drinks and I give them a few minutes just to talk about it. I will very briefly mention that I do sell canvas wraps. It's the only other thing that I sell. And those are hanging in my house. So they are my own wedding photos. And that is the explanation for this next column. I do sell them either a la carte, so you can just buy one or two, or if you do a collection, I have a collection that's hanging that they can see of my own pictures on the wall. And then again, it's just a discount. So you can do that. You don't have to do that. It's usually a side note for people. They either know they want a canvas or they don't. I don't over push it the same way I do with albums. I don't talk as much about it. They can see what they look like. So that's how that works. I do have a preferred package. It's the only package that I do. It's a 10 by 13, the normal album with 25 spreads. Like I said, that's kind of the most common. And then it comes with 2 parent albums and a canvas. And then I also throw in a little gift. I give them a little folio, a little print folio as a gift. It's a pretty big one, and it's a huge discount, and I find that a lot of people do end up getting that because they think, great, we were going to get an album for ourselves and our parents anyway, and great, why not have a canvas? So that's $3,500, and it's been crossed out from $4,700. So they're looking at this as a pretty big, a pretty big discount. So if they're thinking about doing this, this is very common that they get this. The complete story is the only other, as what I call it, That is the two albums, and it comes in a box. So what I will do is show you what that looks like. The only times I'm doing this typically are for like destination weddings. I've done them twice. The first one that I'm about to show you is a couple that lives in Minnesota, had their wedding here in Pennsylvania so that her grandmother could be present. And so everybody flew in from Minnesota and also from Florida, where his family is from, and then just so that the grandmother could be there. So of course that was important, but it was a very big event for them, and it was considered a little bit more of a destination wedding. Second time I've done that, I had a couple that had two weddings. So the first book was their Rwanda wedding because he's from Rwanda, and their second book was their US wedding because she is from the United States. So I will show you what that looks like, and it's the only other package that I have. As things fall over. So it looks like this. Custom box that I have made with Cypress, and then the albums are through Renaissance. It's a really nice way to display them. You can also get boxes that lay flat, so you can have a box. Renaissance also does boxes where you do multiple albums, and it actually opens up like this. They do really beautiful album boxes that way. So if they're gonna get multiple, like a 2-volume thing, just make sure that the presentation is nice. It doesn't have to be this, but just make sure that you give them a little bit extra, because they're literally spending twice as much money with you, and they're essentially buying the 25 spread album times 2. So that's quite a hefty bill for an album if that's not something that they were really planning on ahead of time. So really just make sure that your presentation again matches your price point. I wanted to show one last thing. This is for anybody that's doing lifestyle work, portrait work, non-wedding work. I do also do lifestyle sessions, and they come with an album. I 100% believe everybody should have an album for everything that they do. It's the best way to view them. A lot of the work that I do, the lifestyle work that I do, is just me hanging out with the family for 4 hours, maybe 5. So a lifestyle session can be in the form of birth, the family, maybe they have another child, and the child in this situation, they have a son. They had a first son, and then they had a second son, and the second son, the first son was meeting the sibling for the first time. So when I do lifestyle work, it's simple. Again, I actually just pick the album cover material. I usually just say, do you want linen or do you want leather? And then I just pick the gray linen or do a black leather. Like I don't make it a complicated thing for them. I just keep it pretty easy. I say that the name is going to be at the front or whatever that they want to be at the front. Again, same thing as the parent album. It's an Essex. This is a little bit bigger. I do full frame. I go 8x12 instead of 8x10 on these. Again, that's just how I do things. So this is Leighton. This is in the hospital. So he was born, I did not photograph the birth, but he was born about 2 hours before I got there, 2 or 3 hours before I got there. And then this is his brother coming into the hospital to meet him for the first time. So this is really cool. My lifestyle work tends to be all in black and white. So that's what this works out to be. And the way that I do these designs is I just do the design for them. Again, drop them all in Smart Albums. And then if they want to give feedback, they can, but it's basically done. A lot of times moms, new moms especially, they're like, great, it looks great. I mean, you do the work for them, you know. It came in the package. They already paid for the package. I did the design. I do send it to them just in case for some reason they want to change something out, but I give them a deadline on changing that. So that's just a little side note of if you want to do lifestyle work, I highly recommend still doing that. So just to sort of close out the experience of the preview session, the couple usually has some questions for me. So I'll ask them, you know, what are you thinking? That's when I first walk down, is I say, so what are you guys thinking? Or what are we doing today? Usually using words that are very commitment based, not, do you think you want an album? Don't say that. It's expected. They're getting one. That's the end of the story. So always use positive terminology and wording. If you have confidence in yourself, it's going to show, and let them know it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so, so, so beautiful, and you're so excited to get it to them. So answer their questions. Take a look. What did they write on the paper? Talk to them. If they have financial concerns, talk about it. I mean, this is the issue. People just email. No one's going to pour their whole life story out. I've heard of broken furnaces and, surprise deaths in the family that have caused some people to have some issues with buying an album. And I think via email, you can't read that. Like, they're not going to tell you what's really going on in their life, and they're not going to explain really why they are struggling. So if you just talk to them, it's going to work out so much better. When they leave, they know. They know they're getting a 25 spread album. They know they're on a 10-month payment plan. They know they're on a 4-month payment plan. I think you need to set that expectation. I will be honest and say that this doesn't work 100% of the time because everybody's life is different. And, they did get the USB that has the photos on them. Now, in my situation, I make them so that they can't make the prints bigger than an 8x10. So if they were trying to blow up those photos, it wouldn't work. Everybody does things a little bit differently, but I do size my USB files to 8x10 max. So if they did want to start stretching their photos and making them even bigger, they would start to see a resolution loss. So this is an exciting time for them. They just saw their photos, and in theory, they're running home and watching the slideshow again. They're looking at their photos again. The next day is when I do their online gallery. I post it, and also it's usually when I post their blog, and I tell them that, and they're so excited. But I want them to see them for the first time. So the only photos that they'd seen up to this point were just like the sneak peek. I also send them that same day their proof. Here's your wedding album. Here's the proof. You guys have 30 days maximum to make your changes. You need to give them a deadline. 30 days, or it goes back up to the normal price. The price that you signed on for is the 15% off, the $85 a spread. If it's 7 months later, it's not really your obligation to... This is going to be up to you and your relationship with the couple, but it's not your responsibility to keep that same discount and honor it because you told them it's 30 days. It's 30 days. And I tell them when they leave, I say, we're going to turn around your images. If you have any changes, please let me, make those within 30 days or less, because after a month, realistically, a month after they get their wedding photos, they're not looking at them anymore. They've already picked which was their new profile photo. They've probably blown a few up, and they have those 4x6 prints that you gave them, and that's it. Again, life just kind of goes back. So don't let that sit. In Smart Albums, I actually have an automatic email that does remind them. And if you have a program that does any proofing, Album Exposure does also do the same thing. If you don't use Smart Albums for your proofing, you can do Album Exposure. Same thing, you can set in your settings. It just says remind them. Usually it's after 2 weeks. So 2 weeks after they first get their proof, it can remind them. They should have the opportunity to change it, but you shouldn't just give them forever to work on it either. So I have a little chalkboard in my office, and then the couple's name goes on the chalkboard, and then that's it's very simple. You just cross it out when they're done. I cross it out when it's gone out to the lab. So then I make any changes, any retouching when they approve it, and that's it. So it doesn't take me a whole lot of time usually. I also max out. I will only let them go through 2 rounds. So, you send it to them, they send you changes. They can do that one more time, and then they incur a fee. That's also in my contract as well. No one's ever done it because they don't want to pay the fee. It's like $150. It's nothing, but they don't want to do it anyway. So usually 1 round is like they send you all their changes, change out 75 for 55. The way the proofing system works is that each photo, because like I said, I dropped in all 900, each photo is just numbered 1 through 900. So spread number 1 might have pictures 1, 2, 3, and 4 on there. that they can click on it and say, switch out number 4 for number 12. If that makes sense. And it's all online. So they're not coming back. They don't have to come to you every single time. And then you can just ship them right to the client. I think that's kind of an easier way to do it. If you want to have something personal and send them a thank you card, you can send them to your home or your studio, and you can send them a thank you card and send it out, but it's just going to save you like $20 if you don't do it that way. So it's completely up to what you want to do. But again, they're excited. You need to harp and like work on helping them the first 30 days after they get their photos. After that, good luck, because you're probably not gonna hear from them. I've had lots of people say, can we come back to you and get an album? And that actually did happen to me one time. It was like pulling teeth though, because they had a baby. And that's what happens. People have babies. Sometimes. Lots of times. And when they have a baby, it is really tough. It's really, really tough. So that's why this is important. If they come back to you in a year, their life is different in a year. And this isn't a priority anymore. So I hope this system helps. I hope that that this is a way to take the stress out of album sales. And I really, really believe that this is important. And I believe that these albums are what last. And it's really powerful. It's really awesome. We get to make these incredible, incredible works of art, these heirloom memories for people who have maybe never met the people who are in these albums. So realize the power of that. Come from a human place. Show empathy. Talk, communicate, and just don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be human. And you can really change your business. I will talk business a little and say that I used to be a waitress when I first started my business. I was trying to gear up, and I was newly married, paying for a house, and paying for a new company that I was starting from nothing, and trying to buy all this gear and learn from all the best photographers. And I was waitressing at the same restaurant that I'd been at for 4 years prior. It was my 5th year, and I was really starting to get my name out there with my work. And it was my safety net. And when I was able to let that go, that's actually when I was able to start doing these preview sessions. I wasn't able to do them before because I was too busy trying to make $100 on a Wednesday night at the Cheesecake Factory. And then the next week, when I was able to do these preview sessions, and I booked $2,000 in a night. It was a real game changer. So I'm able to give all of my couples as much attention as they possibly need. I'm only staying in the 15 to 20 range. The last couple of years I was in the 25 to 30 range, but I've been able to double my income by just implementing this system and not needing to pull my hair out and try to book more clients and do more work. Just focus on the couples you do have, give them as much of yourself as you possibly can, and help them. Come from a place of friendship and not a business person. So I really, really, really hope that one person can change their business with this system. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I wish you all well. Please make albums for your couples and for your clients and for your friends and your family and for yourself. They are what will be left. So they are important.